Through 3 blocks of training camp, I want to talk about what I've seen and who are the top performers so far. Breaking it up into 3 categories: top performers on offense, top performers on defense, and guys that are starting to make a move that could potentially get themselves off the bubble onto this roster or just improve their position on the depth chart. All that and more in this episode of 49ers Cutback.
From the alley-oops at Kezar to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. There's tons of stuff going on right now all over social media. Everyone is talking about Brandon Ayuk, but I'm letting that stuff kind of figure itself out. And while it is, I want to talk about what's going on at training camp because there's still players that have been doing very good and they've made an impact so far throughout training camp. And there's our usual suspects that you're expecting to impress, but then there's the ones that are kind of impressing a little bit more than you expected. So, talking about the guys who are performing on offense and performing on defense that are noteworthy, that are definitely making an impact on coaches the way it's making an impact on media and fans alike, who we're going to be talking about. But I also wanted to have a set category available for players that might be on the move, that are starting to scratch the surface, are starting to get a few things going in the right direction that could play a big role into how they perform for the rest of training camp, how they perform into the preseason. Because don't look now, but we are in the first week of preseason games. The San Francisco 49ers will play their first preseason game on Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time versus the Tennessee Titans. And we're going to get to see a lot of the guys that have been performing at practice getting prepared for their moment to step in and make an impact. And there's so many players on this team that are on the bubble that they have an opportunity now to prove it in live action. But it's not going to just be week 1 of the preseason. It's also going to be joint practices next week against the New Orleans Saints. And then that preseason game. And then, of course, capping it all off with a third preseason game against the Raiders in Las Vegas. After that, the 49ers have just a little bit of time to determine who's going to make this 49ers 53-man roster. And, of course, they can always keep 55 guys by putting 2 guys on the IR. With the new rules, you can designate them for return, but that will dig into your 8 players you are allowed to bring back from injury. So you have to take that into account as well. So 49ers are on a collision course with getting a 53-man roster compiled and built that can compete and hopefully get them back to the Super Bowl. And the players right now are building towards a few different options. Number 1, you make the 49ers. That's your goal, to make an NFL roster. Number 2, impress the 49ers enough, you can end up on their practice squad, or impress the league enough, you can end up on one of their rosters. So those are the 3 types of things these teams and players are trying to accomplish here in the next few weeks. And we're going to be talking about who's been doing it the best. And of course, right after I go through this, I'm going to go over also some players the 49ers have brought in to work out. It was a wide variety of players. Every day that I've been at training camp, we've seen different punters work out. We've seen offensive linemen, and they've had injuries to the offensive line and wide receivers, so they keep bringing guys in. But please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you're going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number 1 source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One racing. Bet Online is every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use the promo code BELIEVE, that's a BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online, the game starts here. So 49ers brought in several guys. This is a report by Aaron Wilson. He does good work and often gets this stuff right. And we know the 49ers had planned on bringing in wide receivers to work out. That had already been previously reported. But they had a variety of positions and players that they brought in for workouts that I want to go over real quick. First off, they brought in another quarterback. Last week, they brought in a quarterback and worked him out. Now they bring in Blake Stenstrom, quarterback. Used to be quarterback at the University of Colorado. Big guy, 6'3". So the Niners getting workout with a quarterback. It could just to be to look for down the road, build a Rolodex. They do this consistently, or we'll see. We'll see what happens. So these were probably the most interesting names. We're at the running back position. Anthony McFarland, who the 49ers went against week 1 last year in Pittsburgh. He was their third down back. Had a very good season in the UFL. Anthony McFarland's got a lot of speed. He's got good change of direction. He can catch the ball in the backfield. Very solid player. Then they brought in Keyshawn Vaughn, who's been around the league a little bit. Another guy. But then a familiar face, the Cheetah, Matt Breida, comes in for a workout. 49ers are looking to get speed, and maybe they are with Isaac Guerendo potentially being on the shelf. Maybe they're not planning on playing a guy like Elijah Mitchell very much in the preseason, and they need more running back depth to get to these football games. But Matt Breida, an interesting name on the list for the San Francisco 49ers. When you have speed like that, it's always interesting. Plus, they know he can run the outside zone and play within this 49ers offense. Add wide receiver, the names that had already been reported. Monroe Young, who is out of Cal. 49ers had him come in during their rookie minicamp earlier this season and got a look at him. Mike Harley Jr., who used to play at Miami, he came in for a workout. And Jontre Kirkland, who another UFL player, had a pretty good season for the Houston Roughnecks. So Jontre Kirkland, interesting guy. 49ers have injuries for several wide receivers, including Jacob Cowing and Tate Martin. Both of them are supposed to be back potentially this week, but we'll see what happens there if the 49ers get those guys in. Offensive lineman Jamarco Jones and Adam Pankey also worked out. Of course, they went ahead and signed a different offensive lineman, which is always what you're trying to do. You're trying to make sure you get the right guys, but they had to go ahead and make a roster move there. Linebacker Brevin Allen and Jonathan Garvin both worked out for the 49ers. Defensive lineman Breland Speaks and punter Drew Chrisman worked out for the 49ers. So some names definitely that you probably have a clear picture on who they are and what they're about. And if you don't know them, we'll see if they actually have a chance. The 49ers work out guys all the time, so it's not really that surprising. The 49ers had signed offensive lineman Lewis Kidd. They had waived Pat Eiflin today, who had dealt with a calf injury that he suffered at training camp on his very first day. Barely made an hour into practice. I was there, excited to see him, but he got hurt. So the 49ers bring in Lewis Kidd, and he's going to be competing on the offensive line and really trying to get them through the first part of the preseason. So we'll see how it plays out. But let's get into these offensive top players at camp right now. And, you know, like I said, there's some guys you always expect. I mean, Christian McCaffrey doesn't practice a whole lot. George Kittle, he takes days off, but he's looked good as well. But I think the first guy I'm going to start with, who I think has probably had the most impressive training camp of any player on offense, is Deebo Samuel. I almost said Brandon Ayuk. He's just like on the brain right now. But Deebo Samuel. Deebo took his first day off of practice yesterday, but every single day he's been out there competing. He's been performing, and he looks really good. He looks fast. He looks nimble. He looks strong. He's making plays down the field vertically. He's catching the ball on checkdowns and getting extra yardage. To me, Deebo Samuel has been the guy you can feel really confident along the offense to make plays. And Brock Purdy has felt comfortable getting him the ball. He looks secure in everything he does. The hands have looked in midseason form. So to me, Deebo Samuel is setting the tone for the 49ers offense in the way that he's performing. And it's exciting to see. It's exciting to see a player that took a hold of what happened last year. Maybe he didn't feel like he had the best season and is coming in the best possible player that he can be, and Debo looks really good. If this is any indication of what he's going to do during the regular season, he's going to have people's attentions. He's set for a breakout season, and it's exciting to see. And the guy getting him the football, Brock Purdy, has looked wonderful as well. Saw Brock Purdy when he first came in the league. We didn't see a lot of reps from him, but we did see some when the 49ers had Jimmy Garoppolo working on a side field and didn't know if he was going to be with the team. That was an interesting situation. And Brock was out there getting some reps. And you could see moments where it was like, wow, that was a great play. But then it was like struggle. And then he ends up getting into the season and being able to perform when the moment was the biggest. Last year, the old conversation was management on reps. Is he competing with Trey? There was a lot of different things going with it. And I don't think that Brock Purdy looked as in command of the offense last year. I thought he did a good job. I thought he looked comfortable for the most part, but you could tell there were times maybe where he wasn't in full control of what he was doing on the field and where he was going with the football. And you could see him getting coached up a little bit more at just what his role and what things he was supposed to do. But now, Brock Purdy's finding the right guys at the right time. He's making the good throws, and I know he's still throwing interceptions. That's going to happen, of course. But right now, the vertical passing game has been there for Brock Purdy over the last block of practice. He's been getting the ball vertically down the field to his playmakers so they can make plays. He's been making the right reads. He looks in control. The play action looks good. The fakes look good. He's moving well in the pocket. He's moving well outside the pocket. He's throwing on the run to the left. He's throwing on the run to the right. It really looks like he has extra zip on his ball. It looks like he has a little bit more behind his throws. They're going a little bit further. But more than that, he just looks cool, calm, and collected and in control of this offense. Like he can go through every single element. It's read 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I recognize this coverage. I know where I'm going with the ball, and the ball comes out quickly. And that's something I love from Brock Purdy is the command of the offense to where he's going through. He knows, okay, it's 5 steps with a hitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hitch, boom, ball out. And we're seeing a lot of that. You still see the creativity when things start to break down and him get outside the pocket and try to make things happen when he extends plays. But he can operate well within the offense, and he's got a full grasp of when to move where. Feeling pressure from the right, steps away to the left and throws the ball. Will change arm angle and do it. Feeling the pressure up the middle. Will get around the outside and find some open space to throw the football, directing traffic down the field. He just looks like a pure veteran and a really solid veteran quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Love to see what Brock Purdy's doing. Now, here's an interesting name, and if you follow the channel, I've talked about him a little bit recently, Trent Taylor. I think Trent Taylor is quietly putting together one of the best training camps of any San Francisco 49er. He just has been consistently involved in the offense, in the special teams. But in the offense, in this situation is what I'm going to talk about the most. He's just been making catches after catches after catches. Contested catches, making those. Open catches, making those. Getting yak yards, he's doing that. Making diving catches, making his quarterback look good, doing that. Trent Taylor has looked the part. And this is where those arguments start coming in about who's going to be wide receiver 6. And if you're talking about who's performing the best, Trent Taylor has to be up there. He has performed absolutely fantastic. Is he the biggest? No. Is he the strongest? No. Is he the fastest? Definitely not. But does he know how to play football at an extremely high level? Yes. Is he an upgrade over Willie Snead? Yes. 49ers got themselves a player that plays with the right mindset, that competes, that blocks his butt off, and can make all the plays you want. And you could see the quarterbacks. It doesn't matter which one's in there. All of them have confidence in getting the football to Trent Taylor. He has already earned their confidence that he's going to be where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there, and he's going to catch the ball when it comes his way. That's exactly the dynamic that he earned with Jimmy Garoppolo in 2017, the end of the season. They had a unique chemistry where Jimmy could count on Trent being right where he was supposed to be when he was supposed to be there. And that will get you on the right side of a quarterback really quick. So Trent Taylor is quietly having this tremendous training camp. And I know it's not a sexy name, and I still don't know if he would make this roster or not. There's a lot more that goes into it than just taking the 6 best wide receivers and putting them on your team for the sheer fact that you have to make sure you build the roster. You don't lose young guys that could potentially develop, but also you play the game. When you have guys like this, you could potentially put them on your practice squad because they can't be claimed. They don't go through waivers. They are just automatically available. Now, you always run the risk of another team saying, hey, I want that person on my 53, and that player electing to go there. That can happen. So you do run risks, but you hope that you build up enough credibility with that player to say, hey, you're going to be a part of this team. We're going to have you on the active roster at times. We need you on the practice squad, and you're hoping a guy like Trent Taylor will do that. I think he's a huge addition to this 49ers offense and, in particular, special teams, where he has been very good receiving punts. He just looks good at it. He looks comfortable, and I think the 49ers could feel good with him doing it. One of his counterparts, Chris Conley, has strung together probably 4 straight practices where he has looked very good, and he's been on the second team offense for a lot of training camp. Well, over the last few days, he's moved into first team playing X wide receiver, which is the normal Brandon Ayuk role. It was Danny Gray, and then Danny Gray dealt with a little bit of a soft tissue injury, and that kind of set him back. He missed a day of practice, and Conley stepped in and hasn't looked back, and he looks good. He creates separation at times, vertical touchdown the other day. He's making competitive catches in contested areas. He's been able to get yards after the catch. He blocks fantastic. Chris Conley is just like Trent Taylor when I say a guy that's proven to be one of the top 6 wide receivers on this team. He's looked fantastic. I think him and Trent Taylor have been more consistent than every wide receiver out there not named Debo. And I think Jauan Jennings has looked pretty good as well. But these other guys are just making some plays for this 49ers team. And don't get me wrong, Jauan Jennings is still one of the top 2 or 3 wide receivers on the team. If Ayuk is out there, it's Ayuk, Debo, and Jauan. Those 3 are great. But Chris Conley and Trent Taylor have moved in right behind them. And they've played really, really well. And Conley has had some great practices recently. I've been very impressed with what he's done. So Chris Conley is on that list. We'll see if he can keep it up through the remainder of training camp. But so far, so good. Dominic Pooney. And Dominic Pooney has been consistent every day that I've been there, stepping in. Of course, when I first went, he was the second team right guard. Now he's the first team right guard. Even with John Feliciano coming back, Dominic Pooney's in there. And I think he's having a really good training camp, consistently battling a really good defensive line, interior defensive line. Doing good anchoring and pass rush. Doing good taking on stunts and doing pretty good there. Now, has it been completely spotless? Is his resume just looking too good right now? No. I think that he's showed himself to be a very talented rookie player with the ability definitely to start in this league. And I don't know if he's going to start right now. I think there's a lot of football still left. And I think the 49ers are still wondering if they're going to have one of those key veterans overtake Dominic Pooney in the starting lineup. Now they're going to have to go prove it. John Feliciano is going to have to prove it. Spencer Burford's hand's going to have to get well so he can prove it. But Dominic Pooney is quietly living up to expectations of what we thought he was going to be coming in as a 3rd-round pick. He is very talented, and the one thing I can say just from seeing his footwork, his hands, his abilities is in 2025, Dominic Pooney will be a starting interior offensive lineman for the 49ers, likely at guard, and that's good news for the future. It looks like they hit on a 3rd-round pick. Good thing they traded up to get Dominic Pooney at pick 86 because he's living up to hype and expectations right now. And the last offensive player that I'm going to put in this category of offensive players so far, top offensive players at camp, is going to be Jordan Mason. And Jordan Mason's recent comments about him and Bobby Turner having a little bit of some disagreements on exactly how Jordan Mason's supposed to play. Well, one thing I know is if you've been on the Jordan Mason hype train, you now understand why Jordan Mason wasn't playing over Elijah Mitchell or anyone else that you wanted him to play. Number one, he was running a different style than Bobby Turner wanted him to run. You can't do that. You're playing within Bobby Turner and Kyle Shanahan's system. So you need to run the way that they want you to run. So right away, if you're doing things differently from what they want, it doesn't fit their system. They're going to naturally limit your opportunities to do what you're supposed to do. Number two, he said he wasn't a student of film. And so he didn't know the answers to questions that Bobby Turner was asking. And this is Jordan Mason that said this. So he said he's changed all that. He's now sits next to Christian McCaffrey in meetings. He's got himself up to the level where he understands everything. He can be asked any questions. He now runs the style that Bobby Turner wants him to run. He's gotten better at pass protection. There's a lot that goes there. Plus, he spent $3,000 on a jugs machine that shoots footballs at you to catch. And now he's catching a lot of footballs. And him and his dad did that the all offseason, and it's helped. So Jordan Mason got himself right by doing what he's supposed to do and listen to the coach and do what the coach is supposed to say. So good news for the 49ers, and it showed out on the field. His running style is a little bit different, a little bit more patient at times, a guy that will still attack the moment. I mean, there was one run, it was probably my favorite run that I've seen at camp so far, and it was from Jordan Mason. And I'll say this, Elijah Mitchell's having a tremendous camp as well. On Friday, I believe that that Elijah Mitchell had his best day at camp, and it was one of the best running back days, period, at camp. I mean, he was that good. But Jordan Mason has this running to the right, and he sees the hole open to the left, and he cuts back, and the defender goes low, and he jumps over the top of him and takes off running for an extra 3 to 5 yards. Tremendous play by Jordan Mason. He's just showing up, and that's why he's one of the top offensive performers in camp right now. Over on defense, it starts with Deommodore Lenoir. Demo has been brilliant. And does he get beat? Sure. Everyone gets beat sometimes. But Demo has been playing inside and outside. He's been all over these wide receivers. Even when they make catches, he's in their hip pocket. There's only one time I really seen a lot of separation against him, and I'm talking about in team, and that's when he got tripped up, connected feet with somebody, and fell down. Other than that, it just doesn't happen. Demo is everywhere all the time. He is flying around and making plays. And when it comes to stopping screens and runs, he's coming up with reckless abandon and making plays. He looks good. I think this is the best that we've seen Demo look. So he just keeps getting better and better year in and year out. And Deommodore Lenoir is having one phenomenal training camp. Let's hope that he can keep building on this and take this right into the season. And of course, Charvarius Ward's having a good camp as well. But Charvarius Ward's doing Charvarius Ward things. Everyone expects him to have a good camp. Isaac Yedem. Not only is Isaac Yedem the first guy on the field every single day, getting some extra work in, but he's also out there attacking every moment, willing to take on every single receiver that's put in front of him. He competes at a high level. He plays with great physicality. He uses his length to his advantage. He doesn't get caught in between. You see guys who get caught in between, hey, should I flip my hips and run, or should I drive on the football and get beat deep? You don't see it happen very often. Now, Debo got him the other day. Debo hit him with the double move, little stop and go, and Brock Purdy pump fake and then threw it over the top and got him. But Isaac Yedem doesn't fall for that very often. Very disciplined with his eyes. He's very disciplined in the way that he goes with his skills and techniques, and he knows the concepts pretty well. So the 49ers, Deommodore Lenoir and Isaac Yedem are elevating their game, and you already know how good Charvarius Ward is. The fact that the other two corners that are going to be a part of the nickel package are playing up to that level shows you the improvement at the position. 49ers have absolutely improved at the position at a high level. So very, very excited about the 49ers cornerback room. Jair Brown, the second-year safety, is out there making plays, and he's just living up to the hype and the expectations of the position. He's done such a good job of being in the right place at the right time, playing his zone coverages where he's supposed to, having disciplined eyes, keeping his eyes on the quarterback and in the backfield, picking up receivers that come into his zone. I think he's done great. Comes up in run support, steps up. He's right there in all the action. He's been making all the calls when it comes to the back end with him and George Odom. Jair Brown is ascending right now. He's having a great camp. He looks so much better than he did as a rookie. As a rookie, he had moments where he flashed. It's very similar to Malik Mustafa, where you have moments where you're like, whoo, that guy's got some talent. But then you'll see the rookie moments, or he'll disappear and you don't even realize he's on the field. And those things don't happen for Jair anymore. He's always around the football. He's flying around. He's making plays. He's very vocal. He's talking to his other teammates. He's making sure everyone's on the same page and in the right positions. It's a different Jair Brown in year two. He understands the speed of the game. No one runs by him anymore. He does a really good job staying with players. He can pick up guys in man coverage if needed. To me, Jair Brown has had himself a really, really good first half of training camp. And I mean, there's still room to grow and get better, but he's doing a very good job. Now I'm going to talk about two veterans. First one being Jordan Elliott. Jordan Elliott, it was funny because after block 2, people were asking about Jordan Elliott. And I was saying he was kind of just doing his job. There was no like impressive plays that made him stand out, but he also wasn't doing a bad job. He was just doing his job. Well, now the great plays are coming. I mean, he is just dominating on the inside. He's putting guys on their back. It's Jared Kingston got flat backed. He got pancaked by Jordan Elliott on a bull rush. That's not good for Kingston, but that just shows the power of Jordan Elliott. You got Coach Chris Kasarik saying today that he reminds him of DJ Jones, that A-gap stud run defender that can stop plays, and he looks massive. Jordan Elliott's got the ability to not only rush the passer, but also to stop the run. This could be a huge rotational piece for the 49ers. That defensive tackle 3 position belongs to Jordan Elliott, and I think that he's got the opportunity to help Malik Collins and Javon Hargrave a lot this season. 49ers got themselves a monster on the inside. The handwork is there. He's playing with a lower pad level than I've seen him play even in his time in Cleveland. The explosiveness first step is still there. Yeah, this guy's the complete package, and hopefully everyone starts seeing it during preseason because we're starting to see it right now at training camp. More consistently, he's making plays. We know that if the pocket starts collapsing from the interior, that's going to make it difficult. And what will really make it difficult if you force third and long, then that means the 49ers pass rush is going to be able to get after the quarterback. So Jordan Elliott living up to expectation. And Leonard Floyd is having himself one heck of a training camp. Gets nicked up, day 1, gets back in. Gets nicked up, day 9, goes back in. He just doesn't miss, and his technique is really, really good. He plays with great length. He plays with great leverage. He plays with great strength, but also has that speed and the ability to play on his edges, and he's a good player. And this is one of those things you look at him and you see him and you're like, wow, he's got the speed element and rush that Samson Ebukam had, but with the length and the size of like an Arden Key to be able to keep guys out of his framework and away from him so he can operate, so he can get off blocks and disengage and make plays in the run game, or to be able to get underneath and make sacks. To me, Leonard Floyd is a complete defensive edge rusher, and the 49ers finally got one. This is their first complete guy since D Ford, and so I'm really excited about him and how he can help this football team, and I think he's doing a very good job. And of course, Nick Bosa's having a great camp as well, but I didn't want to put him in the top performers because everyone knows Nick Bosa is going to do a really good job, and he has been doing it so far. So let's talk about a few players that are making a move right now and kind of moving up the board. D. Winters is the first one I want to talk about, and I know Fred had talked about him at length after OTAs, saying, hey, after mandatory minicamp, he had the best OTAs out of everybody. And there's been question marks about him, and, you know, if you've listened to my show, I said, hey, don't worry about it. You know, DFF's in there right now. Just give it time. D. Winters will get an opportunity, and then at some point he's going to start making plays and he'll never look back. Well, DFF wasn't in the lineup yesterday. D. Winters stepped in, and he started making some plays. And the 49ers gave him and Jalen Graham the opportunity to play some first-team reps, and they did a very good job. But D. Winters is flying around, and everyone is taking notice. We get into the preseason. As long as he replicates that in games, I think we will start seeing him with that initial starting linebacker group that includes Fred Warner and Devondre Campbell. So expect D. Winters to continue to making moves because right now he's making move at training camp. Tight end Eric Saubert has been better than I even anticipated he would be. He's more than just a good blocker, but a solid receiver as well. He's not the dynamic force that you would get from somebody else like a Logan Thomas, who has the ability to stretch the field vertically down the seam. But if you need him to run a route and catch the football, he can do it. To me, the best way to describe him is if you took Charlie Warner and you took Ross Dwelley and you put them together, you would get that one player. Blocker like Warner, receiver like Dwelley, probably a little bit more talented than Ross Dwelley receiving the football, and that's what you get. He's done a good job. Right now, I think he's in line to be tied in too, and I think the 49ers feel comfortable with Saubert. And we'll see what happens with Logan Thomas and Cam Latu and Braden Willis. Those things are to be determined. But right now, Saubert sitting comfortable as tight end too until somebody comes and takes it. So hopefully one of those guys will come pressure him because we just want that room to be really good. Yetur Gross-Matos been looking great. I've been a fan of Yetur Gross-Matos at camp, watching him in his drills. The dude is poised to increase upon his 4.5 sacks he had last year. I think the 49ers have 3 legit edge rushers that could produce 7.5 plus sacks. I think Gross-Matos could get around 7.5 sacks, especially with him being able to play in the Arden Key role and move in over interior offensive linemen on 3rd and long situations. That NASCAR kind of package could be a lot of fun for the 49ers this year, and I think Gross-Matos is going to be a big reason why. But he can set the edge in the run game like a Clelin Ferrell, but he can get after the quarterback way better than Ferrell could. He's got more talent there, heavier hands, better hand technique, better balance, better strength on the lower end. He's just an overall really good player. I think he's going to have a lot of success for the 49ers. Now let's talk about some young guys. I want to start on the offensive line with Nick Zakelj. Nick Zakelj is making a move right now. Do I know for sure it's going to end up with him making this roster? No, I don't. But what I do know is he went from being an afterthought to being in the mix. And that only happens when you make good play. And he's been playing well. He's been consistent. He's been battling. We no longer see him lose in dominant fashion. We no longer see him lose consistent reps. He might lose one here or he might lose one there, but he's doing a lot better competing along that interior offensive line. Plus, he can play right guard, left guard, and center, making him a versatile weapon for the 49ers. And part of the reason he's stepping on the scene is Ben Barch, who was thought to be ahead of him, is struggling a little bit. I've seen Barch ending up on the ground a little bit. Some of the defenders are getting up underneath him. So to me, it looks like Nick Zakelj's ascending as Ben Barch is taking a step back, making it this a clear competition for a versatile player on the inside. Now, if something happens and Dominic Pooney starts or Spencer Burford starts and Jake Brendel starts at center, it might not be enough for Nick Zakelj with John Feliciano still being there. So Zakelj is moving up, but he's not there yet, and he needs to get a little bit better. Now, Cody Schrader has been somebody on everyone's radar since the 49ers signed him as an undrafted free agent out of Missouri. And I will say that when I went the first week of practice, I saw Cody Schrader, and I thought, he looked pretty good. Nothing over the moon. He made the right looks, the right reads, did pretty good with the footwork, had nice jump cuts. I thought that last week he looked a little bit better. And this week he looked a little bit better. He's getting better. I think the one thing for Cody Schrader is he's moving up and into the conversation to make this roster is how much of his lack of explosiveness going to hurt his ability to make this team. We just talked about the 49ers working out running backs. Who did they work out? Guys with explosiveness. Anthony McFarland, tremendous speed, can catch the ball in the backfield. Matt Breida, 4.3 breakout speed. Is that something that's going to hinder Cody Schrader? I like the vision. I like his ability. He catches the ball fine. He does things good. Is he great, though? I think that's one of the question marks. And what do the 49ers need from the fourth running back? We know what the top 3 guys can do, but the fourth guy usually has to help on special teams. So we'll see. I think Schrader's making a move. I don't think that he's made the move yet. There's still going to be a lot to evaluate when it comes to Cody Schrader. But I am liking what I'm seeing. And I saved the last one, the players making a move, for who I feel is getting some interesting criticisms on social media. And that's Ricky Pearsall. I walked away very impressed with Ricky Pearsall from what I've seen. The guy, number one, he carries himself differently than a lot of young players that I've seen. There's a confidence that comes from Ricky Pearsall. Number two, I've seen him create separation and be able to catch the football. I think one of the problems is right now, people are used to seeing Kyle Shanahan kind of separation, where he schemes it up, the guy's wide open, by 5 yards, catches the ball, and gets a big play. Well, right now, they're not scheming. Right now, it's going out there and just making things happen. And separation in college and separation in the pros are 2 different things. In the pros, it's just tighter windows. And right now, he's playing with tighter windows. But I've seen him get off and make a great play against Isaac Yedem. And I've seen him make other plays. Part of the problem people are struggling to evaluate his separation is every one of his plays happens in all 22 or 11 on 11. When it comes to Pearsall, he hasn't done one-on-ones yet. That's where everyone likes to see if a player can create separation, at least the people watching. For the coaching staff, they don't care. They just want to know if he's in the right place at the right time. Ricky Pearsall is doing just fine. His development and where he's at, of course, he's a week behind everyone else in practice. So they're going to ease him in. They're going to work him in. But watch when we get into these preseason games. Ricky Pearsall is going to have an ability to make some plays. I think he's doing just good enough. I think he's, making a move right now. And I think here in a week or two, we're going to start talking about Ricky Pearsall and what he can do for this 49ers team in 2024. So I get it. Everyone watches and they see two different things. Some people's perspectives are saying he's not creating separation. Mine naturally is going to he creates separation. Other guys that are maybe not creating separation but are starting to make plays, guys like Ronnie Bell, you tip the cap. And Ronnie Bell and Danny Gray could easily have been on players making a move, but I feel like they've been up and down where it's like moments and then they disappear and then they make another moment. So I want more consistency from those guys, but they're going to have to step it up if they're going to be able to hold off those veterans. So players to watch on offense, that your top performers on defense, and then guys making a move in this episode. Let me know what you think of the episode. Let me know who you think are the top performers and which guys are making a move. And just like always, please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. It's 4 years Cutback on Believe. Please give it a 5-star rating. And just like always, this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.